All right, everybody, we are back this time with some WWE predictions on the channel. I have not done predictions for the WWE in a minute, but Money in the Bank is one of my favorite yearly traditions in the WWE, so I couldn't go without talking about it on the show. So we're going to get into Money in the Bank 2024 predictions, which takes place this Saturday, July 6th, I believe. Let me make sure. I think it's July 6th. Yes, July 6, 2024 in Toronto, Ontario, Canada from the Scotiabank Arena. Now, we can obviously see the poster here is with main event Jey Uso, but usually when you see the poster, you can't pick that person to win that main event match. So we'll get into the Money in the Bank or the men's Money in the Bank match later on in the video, but let's kick it off with Money in the Bank 2024 predictions. All right, let's kick it off with the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Obviously, the winner earning a shot at the women's championship at any time of their choosing. You have Io Sky, Chelsea Green, Lyra, Valkyria, Tiffany Stratton, Naomi, and Zoe Stark. I'm going to be honest, I've never been a huge fan of the women's Money in the Bank matches only because I feel like it doesn't have as big of an impact on WWE television when the women's Money in the Bank contract is cashed in. Usually they're cashed in successfully, but if I really have to pick a winner, there's a couple people I feel like I can eliminate from the match in terms of a credible winner, and that would be Naomi, and I would say Lyra Valkyria. I just feel like she hasn't been on the main roster long enough to win the Money in the Bank. So we take two of those out, so we're down to Zoe Stark, Tiffany Stratton, Chelsea, or what did I say? We're down to Tiffany Stratton, Zoe Stark, Chelsea Green, and Io Sky. I think the next person you can eliminate is Io Sky because she's already won it. And then I would say you could probably take Zoe Stark out of it. So I think when it comes down to it, I kind of feel like it could either be Chelsea Green or Tiffany Stratton. And honestly, I'm going to go with Tiffany Stratton. I think her look, her ability, overall as a character and the way she's presented, at least on NXT and on the main roster, I think the creative team has a lot in store for Tiffany Stratton. And I feel like they want her to get the chance to win the Money in the Bank and then cash in to become a new, fresh face at the top of the women's division. So I'm going to pick Tiffany Stratton to win the women's Money in the Bank. Again, it could go a couple of different ways, but I think that's probably the most logical winner after you eliminate a few that I don't believe are going to win. So I'm going to pick Tiffany Stratton to win here. But like I said, I've never been super hyped for the women's Money in the Bank ladder match, and I just kind of feel like it's pointless to a degree. But you don't have to agree with me. This is a discussion platform, so you can say whatever you want. But my pick is Tiffany Stratton to win the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. All right, next up is the Intercontinental Championship match between the champion in Sami Zayn taking on Braun Breaker. After Sami Zayn ended the 666-day reign of Gunther, however you want to say it, the Ring General, I think a lot of people think that there's no way Sami Zayn loses this match. He's going to keep the title. This is going to be, kind of a vet lesson to the NXT superstar and Braun Breaker. Obviously, we know the son of Rick Steiner, the dog-faced gremlin. I think that they're going to use this to catapult Braun Breaker towards that main event scene, and I think they're going to have a great match. I could see Sami Zayn winning with like a roll-up, or maybe Braun Breaker goes for a spear, hits the turnbuckle, then gets a roll-up and he loses, but he still looks strong. I think that that's probably the smarter decision, is for Sami Zayn to win on like a fluky roll-up, or like maybe he hits a haluva kick and goes for a pin, but one of Braun Breaker's feet are on the ropes. But I think that this is Braun Breaker's time. I think this is the time that they're going to really catapult him, and I think Sami Zayn is a superstar that they can have him just kind of destroy from start to finish and make him look like a monster. And I think that's what they're building Braun Breaker up to be. I think it would be smarter for Sami Zayn to win here off like a fluky, cheeky win. And, he wins, but Braun Breaker looks really strong. I think that's the smarter decision, and that's probably what they should do. But I do think they're going to give the title to Braun Breaker here. I'm going to go with Braun Breaker to win in pretty dominant fashion. It's still going to be competitive, but I don't think it's going to be as competitive as some people think. So my pick is going to be Braun Breaker to defeat Sami Zayn clean in a pretty dominant fashion and become the new WWE Intercontinental Champion. All right, next up is going to be the World Heavyweight Championship match between the man who cashed in the Money in the Bank contract at WrestleMania to become the World Heavyweight Champion in the Archer of Infamy, or the Archer of Infamy, I guess you could say, in Damian Priest, a part of the Judgment Day, taking on the returning Seth freaking Rollins. I think that this story is more about Damian Priest and the dissension between himself, Finn Balor, Dominic Mysterio, and the rest of the Judgment Day. And then, Seth Rollins is returning. It's a big deal that he's back. But I still think Damian Priest is going to come out retaining the World Heavyweight Championship. I don't think that it would surprise me if Seth Rollins won, but I feel like you get a lot more accomplished with Damian Priest retaining the title here than you do with putting the belt back on Seth Rollins. I don't see a reason for him to have the belt back except for a feud with CM Punk. But based on the fact that Punk has kind of been costing Drew McIntyre the chance to win the World Heavyweight Championship, I don't think that's going to happen. And I think we're going to get Punk versus McIntyre in the next feud. So I don't think there's a reason for Rollins to win the world title because it doesn't really put him in any clear feuds going forward if he was to win the title and take it off Damian Priest. So I think Damian Priest wins. I think there's some dissension where maybe Finn Balor or JD McDonough try to cost Damian Priest the title, and you could tell that they were trying to screw him over, but it doesn't work in their favor, and they hit Seth Rollins with like a chair or hit him with a belt or hit him with some type of kick when they're gonna try to target Damian Priest and take him out, but it doesn't work. So we know that the dissension's still there. We know that Damian Priest is kind of on his way out after sort of, I guess you could say, quote unquote, outgrowing the Judgment Day, at least in storyline terms. But I think they're going to keep building up that dissension into SummerSlam. And then at SummerSlam, I think we're going to get Finn Balor versus Damian Priest for the World Heavyweight Championship. So I think Priest holds on to the title here. You can sense more dissension in the Judgment Day, and you could sense that Damian Priest, is on the verge of getting screwed over by the rest of his members, or they're going to try to take him out, but it doesn't work out somehow, and Damian Priest retains the title by hook or by crook. Still your World Heavyweight Champion, Damian Priest, but I think going into SummerSlam, we're going to have Damian Priest versus Finn Balor for the World Heavyweight Championship. And finally, the most interesting match on the card, the match which the pay-per-view is named after, the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. You have 6 very intriguing competitors trying to vie for the briefcase and their chance at a world championship. You have Andrade El Idolo. You have Jey Uso, the master of the Yeet. Main event Jey Uso. You have Chad Gable going through the entire feud and the sort of weird dissension with the returning or the debuting Wyatt Six, or Wyatt Six, but S-I-C-K-X, or S-I-C-K-S. You have Carmelo Hayes, the former NXT World Champion, Drew McIntyre, and LA Knight. Yeah! I think this is one of the most stacked Money in the Bank ladder matches. I think it's very tricky to determine who's going to win the Money in the Bank contract during this match, but I'm going to take a couple out of the 6 members in the field. I'm going to eliminate Drew McIntyre, kind of based on what I talked about in the World Heavyweight Championship prediction, where I think all signs are pointing towards a feud with CM Punk, and Punk doesn't have the world title right now, and I think if anything, Punk would cost McIntyre his chance to win this match and then set up a singles match probably at SummerSlam, which is when Punk would probably return if I had to guess. So we're going to eliminate Drew McIntyre, so we're down to 5. Uso, Gable, Andrade, Hayes, and LA Knight. Next, I think you eliminate Jey Uso. Based on the fact that he's on the poster, you never really see a person who's on the poster for the pay-per-view walk out with the Money in the Bank briefcase. So just based on the fact that he's on the poster, I think you can eliminate him from winning. I would not mind Jey Uso winning. It would actually hype me up because, I'm a big fan of Jey Uso. Just look at my most viewed video on the channel. But I think you can take him out. So you can take out the 2 in the middle. I think then you can eliminate Andrade. I just don't see a reason for him to win the Money in the Bank. I think it would be a good shocker. I think there would be a lot of like, oh shit, I didn't expect that to happen. And it would be good for the unexpected reasons, but I don't really see a clear path for him for a World Heavyweight Championship or, a Universal Championship, either way you want to look at it. So I think you can eliminate Andrade, Jey Uso, and Drew McIntyre out the gate. Then you have LA Knight, Carmelo Hayes, and Chad Gable left. Next, I'm going to say you can take out LA Knight. Only because I just don't see him having the same hype and build-up. And we thought he was going to win the Money in the Bank last year. He didn't. I wouldn't be upset if LA Knight won the Money in the Bank, but I just don't think it's going to happen based on the storyline perspective and the feud with AJ Styles and everything that had been going on recently in his career. So now we're down to two, Carmelo Hayes and Chad Gable. And I could see both of these guys winning. I think Carmelo Hayes would be a good option. But at the end of the day, I'm going to go with Chad Gable. I think Chad Gable wins the Money in the Bank contract with the interference of the Wyatt Six. You know, we saw him get kayfabe, his life ended by the group on Raw as his head was like completely, he was bloody, he was out. It looked like he had gotten a headshot dead. Shout out Leon Edwards. But ever since then, they've been interfering. They've kind of been lurking around his matches and making him feel very uncomfortable. And I think we're building up towards a heel, like a really main event level heel, Chad Gable. And I think everybody would be expecting the Wyatt Six to cost Gable the match. I actually think they're going to help him win it. Now, I don't know where it's going in terms of a storyline perspective. I don't know why the Wyatt Six are interfering with Chad Gable. Maybe because he's underappreciated and underused. And I think the group of the Wyatt Six are a group of people that Wyatt was very heavily involved in, but they were always kind of underappreciated and swept under the rug and not given the chance to shine. And I think that's really what this message is about. And I think they're going to help Chad Gable become Mr. Money in the Bank. So that's my pick. My pick for the 2024 Men's Money in the Bank winner is Chad Gable. I think he's going to win, and I think he's going to win with the help of the Wyatt Six. And yeah, that's it. Those are my predictions for the 2024 Money in the Bank pay-per-view, which takes place from the Scotiabank Arena in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, this Saturday, July 6th. I have been your host, Double M from the Touch 'Em Up podcast. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell with a haluva kick. And make sure to tune in to the pay-per-view this Saturday to see how correct our predictions really are. I'm your host, Double M, and I'm out.